This is the I Read Comic Books podcast, the very best podcast for regular comic book fans. I'm your host, Mike Rapin, and joining me this week, a completely normal sibling and their evil robot brother. This week, I am joined by Brian Murray.
Hi.
And our very special guest for this episode, comic book creator Gabe Cheng.
Hello, hello.
Thank you both for joining me today.
Gabe has a goatee, so you can tell he's the evil one.
Thank you, yes. For those of you watching at home on Patreon, you will see that's how I was able to determine that. Thank you both for joining me this week. I'm super pumped to talk about comic books with the both of you, if only because I'm still getting back into the swing of things. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm actually doing. I still have a baby at home that keeps me up at some hours of the night, but I have been able to find time to talk about or read comic books, and I have been able to make time to talk about comic books with the both of you. So let's just dive right in. For folks at home who maybe haven't listened to the previous episodes that you've been on this show, Gabe, could you tell the folks at home a little bit about who you are and what you do, what you've got going on right now? Because I'm hearing rumors of a new Kickstarter that you may have coming soon.
Yeah, my name is Gabe Cheng. I'm an indie comics writer. I'm self-published and I do crowdfunders and distribute via Kickstarter. I have a Kickstarter starting on Wednesday, May 13th, for the second issue of my series, This Seems Normal. It is a genre blending comedy, action adventure, I guess kind of story or series that is about a couple of capricious siblings and their wacky adventures. There's it's not quite an anthology, it's not quite a continuing story, it's somewhere in between, where issue 1, which I did the Kickstarter for last year, has its own story, complete beginning, middle, and end, and issue 2 is not quite a continuation, but it's the same characters and a new story, a new episode, quote unquote, as it were, and yeah, it's coming to Kickstarter soon.
Very excited. I think that'll be out as this episode comes out on Wednesday. So everybody out there,
it's
check
out there
the show
now.
notes. You're going to see it. You should make sure to go back and get in early while it's still hot. Otherwise you'll have to wait till the end where it'll still be hot, but it'll be 30 days hot. I don't know.
It'll still be as cool, but you won't feel as cool because you want to back it
That's
right
right.
away.
Thank
You got to be
This is why
early
I bring
adopter.
you on the show. Yes. Thank you, Brian. Anyways, we're here to talk about comic books. So we're going to talk a little bit more about This Seems Normal later. Gabe, I got to know though, how have you been? How have comic books been?
I've been good. I've been doing really good. I'm in a good headspace now, and things are going well, in personal life and the professional life, and on the comic books front as well. I just did my first free comic book day event at a local comic book shop out here in Southern California in Pasadena, and it went great. It was a lot of fun. It was only 3 hours long, but it was a really good shop that was really organized, really did a good promotion. So it was packed all day, a ton of different people coming in, people bringing in their kids, people that were clearly had been doing it for decades and decades, new comic book creators. It was really cool. And a lot of people, I was sitting with some really cool creators, and three of us, 2 others, 3 total, crammed at a little table. So we had a good time talking to each other. We had a good time talking to everybody else. It was just a really good day for comics. It was really a nice reminder about like how vibrant and still alive the comic book community is. I mean, don't count us out. We're still here.
Yeah, no, that's great. I feel like with the shakeups of the free comic book day stuff, I'm like, what is it, comic giveaway day and free comic, like, because it's all trademarked and all that stuff. Like, so many people, at least on the social feeds that I'm on, we're just like, what do we call this thing? What are we supposed to do? It's like everybody knows that the first Saturday in May, if you're in the comic sphere in any capacity, or you go to a shop, that is the free comic book day. It's always going to be that. It's like one of those trademarks where like Velcro or Band-Aid, where you're like, there's no
Kleenex.
other name for this thing, or Kleenex. There's no other name for this thing, but like everyone knows what it is. So I don't know. I saw a little bit of confusion around that, but it's like ultimately all the shops are just like, we don't care what it's called. We're doing this event. So I'm glad that you had a successful event out there, because I know like the shop that I went to on Saturday, it was popping at like 4:00, and I'm like, that's late in the day. So I'm glad you had a good time as well.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and there's so many people bringing their young kids and getting people into comic books, and just analog reading, of course. And even if they're reading it on their iPads, that's still great. But like it's great to see the generational stuff too, because like I said, it's a nice reminder that this is still a very dynamic community that can grow, that can continue to be profitable for these local comic book shops, and it's very cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I guess outside of your free comic book day event and life and stuff, what comics have you been reading? Anything good? Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, and I'm gonna name drop this, or not. Well, I'm gonna mention this a lot during this podcast because my comic book club, which is a book club, but for comic books, is really keeps me honest with my comic reading and make sure that I'm still reading a lot of comics. So yeah, I've been reading a lot of really good stuff, a lot of stuff that we all agree is just really fun and awesome, and a lot of stuff that we agree on was really bad and made no sense and illogical.
Do tell. Speak fire into the microphone.
What was it? I have to bring it up, but it was a Defenders book from a couple of years ago, where like they like the idea was that like, you know, the Defenders don't really like coordinate and work together in the comic book world. So wouldn't it be interesting if there were 5 different writers that wrote 5 different issues of Defender, and they weren't really talking to each other intentionally, and then they tried to weave them all together once everything was written. The Defenders, The Best Defense is what it was called.
Okay.
I don't know exactly when it was from. I think it was like 2018, and we were just arguing for an hour and a half on which one we thought was worse. And
interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, and so the comic that I'll bring up later, Assorted Crisis Events, is what we read most recently for Comic Book Club, and it was a lively discussion, but it was just to tease it, you know, it was a lively discussion. I'll leave it at that. And
tell us. No, let's go into it. Tell us about your thoughts on Assorted Crisis Events, because I absolutely love that book, even if it drags me down into the darkest places of my mind. I'm curious to know, what did you think of reading that as a collection, right? Because month to month, that book is painful. Like, I can't imagine reading like issue after issue. Like, I see Brian nodding along because I think at this
We've
point,
talked about this before.
Yeah, many people on our show have experienced it and just been like, I needed to like go for a walk afterwards.
Well, let me for the listening audience, I did grab a little synopsis, and I should have grabbed, I think this is from a review, so apologies to the person that I'm stealing this from without giving a source. So Assorted Crisis Events Volume 1, Image Comics, ongoing anthology comics series where time itself is in a crisis, causing surreal and anachronistic events like cavemen and cyborgs mingling in modern cities. Sounds fun. Sounds like a good romp. It is heavy. The series features standalone literary short stories that explore personal and social themes like grief, trauma, and loss through fractured timelines, and each issue offering a unique, often bleak, but beautifully drawn narrative. So just not to bury the lead, I really liked this a lot. I thought it was really, really good. But I did not enjoy reading it. Like you guys, were saying, it was rewarding to read, but it was not fun to read. It was heavy. But it was dealing with things like I just outlined, like grief, trauma, loss, and then more like kind of social things like immigration. And I guess immigration was kind of two things, two of the stories in the first volume, I should say. Domestic abuse, and a couple other heavy things like that. And there's a little section about like fascism and just politics overall. And it attacked them and it addressed them in very interesting ways where, it takes a recognizable sci-fi trope that is just really intriguing to anybody that loves sci-fi as much as I do, and really, wrings everything out of it that it absolutely possibly could, and does it in a visually beautiful way. The layouts were amazing. The art is just incredible. It was structured so tight and sharp, and it felt so fresh and unique and different, and unlike anything that I practically ever read. And for all of those reasons, it was just an amazing read. But like sitting in my bed at like 10:30 at night, flipping through these pages on my tablet, I was like, oh boy, this is bleak. Like, and there were a couple that were two things. I think that for 2 or 3 of the issues in the first volume, there were main characters that I wasn't really emotionally invested in, and that made it kind of hard to get invested in the narrative. Like, I was with it for the art, I was with it for the storytelling and the structure of the layouts and et cetera, and I was with it for the concepts, the high concept sci-fi rigmarole, as it I think that's a solar opposites thing.
Sure.
But I just didn't like the characters. I wasn't interested. A lot of them were kind of being pulled through the stories. They weren't making their own choices, or it was too spread out where, you know, there wasn't enough of one character, and it was trying to tell an ensemble story. And the example of the one that was the two parallel hearths, the two towns that were in parallel universes. So I did find that hard in general. And then so that was the first issue, or the first problem that I had with it. The second thing was that it does, in a couple of instances, feel like misery porn. It feels like, let's take this character or take a person and let's see how upset we can make our reader. Like, let's see how many horrible things we can have happen to a person, and really take that person to a low, and not even give them a moment of, you know, with the 2/3 point, like a little bit of light gleaming through the tunnel, like, have it be, you know, have it just like down, and then end. So I felt like that was a little excessive in some of them, not all of them, in some of them. And that was my other kind of gripe.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think, like, if you look at this book and you look at a similar series that's coming out from Image, you know, it's Ice Cream Man, right? Like, they're both telling like very depressing stories in different ways, right? Like, Ice Cream Man touches on like supernatural, weird horror at times, and then it will do like a very down to earth thing that has like a slight like supernatural twist. Whereas Assorted Crisis Events, I can definitely see that point of, like, it does feel like there is a an intentional, like, driving to a really bleak point without giving any sort of hope. And I wonder if that's coming from the perspective of like Dennis Camp seeing like the outside world that he's living in and feeling very depressed by it and just trying to like channel that. But like at the same time, as a reader, you're kind of just like, oh man, I use comics to escape, and this is very, very heavy. This is why I'm like, I don't recommend anyone just try to blast through this collection, because you're like not gonna feel good afterwards. But yeah, I think those are super valid critiques on the book, because it does you do kind of hope that there's some happy ending in some capacity out of this. Like, every once in a while, even Ice Cream Man will have a happy issue that feels so out of place. But like, you're like, oh, okay, they're giving us a space to breathe. That means next month is going to be so bad, I'm not going to know what to do with myself.
At least Ice Cream Man is like usually pretty funny.
Oh, sure.
Even when it's dark, like there's usually like a joke somewhere.
Yeah. That's true.
I agree. And like, comparing this to something like, I never read The Boys, but like watching The Boys, which I love to watch, and also does feel like, you know, we're going to do gory and misery and just make these characters suffer because we think it's funny. Like, there is kind of a tongue-in-cheek dark humor about that, where this, it just felt like really heavy. And there was some moments of humor in there, but like on the whole, it felt very heavy just overall. And there wasn't so much tongue-in-cheek. So I feel like I'm going to try to keep reading it. And I think that volume 2 is already out. So I will try to read that. I think that going into the first couple of issues, not knowing is always really hard, where it's like,
sure.
Where you do have the expectation of like, oh, okay, maybe there'll be one that's a little bit lighter. And then you get through 5 and it's like, nope. But knowing that it is going to be this way, and there is this cadence, there is this pace, like I feel like it will be easier to read the next couple of issues, because I know what I'm in for. And then, you know, a nice happy ending one, which I don't even require. It's not like I'm saying it has to be there, but when it comes up, people are like, oh, that's a nice surprise. As opposed to the expectation.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, yeah, let us know. Let me know. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on Volume 2. But before we belabor this book any further, because I love it and I have so much more to say. But Brian, let's move over to you. Let's talk about how you've been, how comic books been, what you've been reading, dude.
Yeah, I've been okay. Learning a lot of the ins and outs of my health insurance, which is fun.
Okay.
Got a whole spine thing going on. It's a lot to get into. But I read Ultimate Wolverine Volume 1, which I was actually at your place when I picked that up, Mike. I don't remember. But went out to visit you back in January. I finally found this book where I left it on my dresser, 5 months ago or whatever.
Yeah.
This is written by Chris Condon with art by Alessandro Cappuccio and Alex Linz, colors by Brian Valenza. It's fun. Like it's a fine book, but it definitely didn't like shake my world or give me like a brand new understanding of Wolverine as a character. I think that it ultimately suffered from the Ultimates, like the nature of these Ultimates books, where it's like characters that and are familiar with, but in a different context. Because in this case, we have a character like the Winter Soldier, which now we all know was Bucky Barnes the whole time in mainline continuity. But at the time, it was this mysterious figure, and I don't know how long it took for us to find out that it was Bucky. But it definitely wasn't something that we knew the first time we saw him. Whereas with the Wolverine Winter Soldier, we know who that is the first time we see him, because he's still got the same like claws. He's got the ears on the mask and everything. Like, this is clearly Wolverine with a cool new color palette. And other characters in the book know that too. So like the second that the Resistance, led by Gambit and Kitty Pryde, which by the way, I'm much more interested in that story than I was in Logan's.
Yeah.
But as soon as they see him, they're like, oh, that's Logan. We need to rescue him. And they do by the end of this 6-issue volume. And so it just feels like it all happened so fast.
The story of this volume, and I think I read issue 1 of this, and I was very interested in like the X-Men of it all, not the Russian super soldier of it all, because that's essentially what it is. It's like, instead of Wolverine landing in like being in the United States and becoming this super weapon for Weapon X, he ends up landing he's in Russia, and they turn him into the Winter Soldier. So he's like their super assassin, and the X-Men are like, that's our friend Logan. And then they all show up and people die. And it's like, okay, like, I don't know. I really don't like the way the Ultimates yet again treated the X-Men. So I'm like very mad about it in general. But I
can see your brain struggling not to make it into Red Sun Superman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that's what it is, but that's kind of what it. I don't know. I like Chris Condon as a writer. I like all of his other works that he's done. For some reason, this book did not click with me, but like, I didn't keep reading it. I guess that's the problem. But that's the gist of the story, though, right? He's just the Russian super soldier, but he's Wolverine at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that like a lot of the Ultimate stuff that I have really enjoyed is other things like the Ultimate Spider-Man, where it's like he is still Peter Parker and he becomes Spider-Man and becomes the hero. Like, his circumstances are wildly different than what we're used to, but it is ultimately still like close enough that it still feels the same. Whereas this felt more like taking two characters and just sort of like mushing them together. And like I said, I think that they did as good a job as they could in this context with like a 6-issue volume. I guess I would have liked to have seen more room to breathe. I would have liked people to encounter this Winter Soldier multiple times and then discover that it's actually Wolverine.
Yeah.
But again, like, I don't know how you would do that as a writer.
Well, that's the thing about this Ultimate Universe that like I can't put a beat on, because the thing that I thought the idea was, spoilers for a thing that's like 3 years old. So like, sorry folks, if you didn't catch up on what's happening in the Ultimate Universe, like long story short is the maker, evil Reed Richards, went back in time in an alternate universe and took away all of these the starting moments for all of our superheroes, so they no longer become the superheroes that we know, so that he can control this world, right? I mean, with varying degrees. There's a big old asterisk on that as you read the series or read the various stories. But the ending of, or the, I guess the point that I was made to think we were supposed to get to was that despite that, when given these abilities, these characters go back to that because it's like an inherent thing, right? It's the Marvel 1602 of it all, right? Like Captain America is always going to be Captain America, and when Captain America shows up, like all of these people show up and they are who we know them to be. Like Spider-Man will always be Spider-Man, like the Wasp will always be the Wasp, the Ant-Man will always be Ant-Man, despite their pasts having changed. When given these power or this ability, they will become the people that they are. And let's not talk about the negative sides of people like the Wasp and, you know, whoever, but like, or the Ant-Man or whatever. But regardless, they get these powers, or they get these scenarios, and they become who they're supposed to be. Mutants, of course, are always in a weird space because it's like, you can't really take away the mutant gene. I think that's a thing that the maker tries to deal with and can't successfully make happen. But regardless, I think like to make a book like Ultimate Wolverine, you'd expect that eventually Wolverine would become kind of the brutish but good-natured guy that he would eventually become, and it sounds to me like that's not where we got, at least in this first volume.
It's like, I think that's where we are at the end of it.
Okay.
It just happens faster than I would like.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, there's nothing worse than trying to rush back to the status quo, especially if you know
exactly.
that that's what the intention is. Like, it's pretty transparent that that's the goal, and then you just see kind of the map kind of coming together, like, oh, okay, I see how the pieces are going to fall together, and we're going to be back here by issue 6.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, and like I knew that obviously Wolverine is not going to stay as like the brainwashed bad guy working for evil Colossus,
right?
Which I don't like the evil Rasputins of it all.
Yeah,
but that's like a personal thing, not a storytelling thing.
Listen, Brian, did you not read the classic old story called Colossus, where he has to kill like his family line because he's descended from Rasputin? Like, did you not read that book back in the day? Come on, this is in the canon. So stupid.
It's crazy and it's in canon, it's not crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I converted after the schism. So
I forgot. You're a late stage conversion.
I'm a Latter-day X-Men fan.
Oh, brother. I'm gonna put a pin in that. I think we could make a map of, you know, Western religions to X-Men readers. But before I do that, let me talk about a book that I've been reading. As I said, brand new child, still trying to figure everything out, but I think it's working out okay. Last weekend I was not on the show because I was running a booth at my local street fair with a child in tow. Like, I literally had a baby strapped to the front of me, and I was trying to tell people about my local board game group in town that me and my wife help run, which is very fun. Got to meet a lot of the locals, and I forget how just very small my town is, because everybody that stopped by were people that I've already met before. So it's one of those things where, like, I think we've maxed out who's actually going to attend this thing, but I'm okay with that. Anyways, I did read some comics. I read a couple different things, honestly, that were fine. I talked about this on an episode that's coming out in a few weeks, but I did read Upgrade Soul, which was on the our reading challenge. I read it on my phone as an app. Like, I don't know if you guys
the way
remember
God intended you to read comic books.
Okay, thank you, Gabe. Okay, you know what I'm talking. No, back in the day, you used to be able to buy single issue comics, right, as apps, and they were just like Comixology packaged apps that you could read. Like, Image sold copies of Proof #1 or Proof like 1 through 7 as individual apps and stuff. But then I read Upgrade Soul, and it's interesting because the creator intended for you to read it in this kind of augmented reality style of reading, where as you swipe through things, it's like a hyper advanced version of guided view. I thought that was really interesting. Honestly, I would recommend everybody go download this and just try the first chapter for free, just to like experience it, because it uses like the gyroscope in your phone to kind of move things around. The lettering stays static, but like the art will move around a little bit. And then when you swipe through it, like, the panels reveal themselves in really interesting, like, cinematic ways that I was like, I felt like I was watching scenes out of a movie, like the way that it was paced and timed. I was like, it's one of those things where I'm like, I love the physicality of comics. I love even just reading pages on my iPad or whatever. But like when somebody gets a little bit creative with this, I think there's like something there. I don't think every comic could do what Upgrade Soul did, but I really enjoyed that reading experience. I definitely want to go find a physical copy and see how that compares. But if you guys get a chance, download that app, check it out. You can read the first chapter for free. But the book that I do want to talk about is Panda Delivery Service. This is by Jesse Lonergan. It's a self-published little like one of two series. And yes, as you can see, Jesse drew a bunch of different little pandas, and it's fantastic. The story is very simple because it's Jesse just experimenting with art and storytelling. But it's about a little panda guy, the little guy with the little shark here, the little shark head. He is trying to deliver some eggs to someone. That's it. That's the whole story. He's just trying to deliver some eggs. In trying to do that, he stumbles upon a various mini adventure as he's like this little automaton of sorts that is just trying to get from point A to point B, but the eggs that he's delivering are apparently wanted by someone else. It's very experimental. I mean, we've talked about Jesse's work on here many, many times. His book Drome was in like our best of 2025 list that we have, as well as, you know, Hedra is one of those books that put him on the map, and I think everybody loves that, as well as his little mini book that he just did a Kickstarter for called Faster. They did a republishing of it, where, you know, Jesse tries to do a lot of stuff with his artwork that gets you to like break from the norm of just reading left to right, top to bottom. Like he does things with momentum and page layout and like things that capture your eye and attention so that you aren't reading the pages in ways that you normally would read a comic. And this book is no different. There is specifically a couple of segments in this book that have I can only describe as like kineticism to them. Like if you let your eye do the work of reading the page, you actually start to feel the tempo of the story with the action lines and like little directions that he draws into the artwork that are really minor, just like little action lines for you to follow. But the speed at which these things happen, because there's not a lot of dialogue, it like creates a lot of fast-paced moments and slow-paced moments. And I'm like, how are you thinking about laying out your pages in certain ways to slow down and speed up the reader's reading speed? Because in those moments of extreme speed, there's not a lot of extra art to the page. But in the slower moments, there's like extremely fine detail. And I'm just like, dude, you know what you're doing too well. I hate that you're manipulating me in this way to read your story. So if you get a chance to read this, you can read it on Jesse's Patreon. I think he may have copies available on his Etsy. If you go to jesselonergan.com, you can find out more information. But like, I'm massively impressed with what he's doing. The second issue is going to come out. I'm sure that he'll do a little mini collection of some sort in the future, hopefully. But man, oh man, what a cool little book. Again, not a lot of story, mostly just experimenting with comic art and drawing a bunch of little guys. Like this cover is a perfect example of just a bunch of little guys. And then there's even more different little types of guys in this book. And anybody who reads comics, you love little guys. Everybody loves little guys in the comics. And this book is a perfect example of that. So can't wait for the second issue.
You got to love somebody that is visual storytelling, that is thinking outside the box in that way, that is, you know, like you said, like being confident enough to direct pacing, to tell the reader how to read it as they are reading it. And that's always really refreshing and really impressive. And yeah, you got to love it. You got to celebrate them when they come around.
Yeah, it's super bold, right, as well, to try to inform a reader on how to read your book. But like, I don't know, I think there is something like really exciting about sitting down and you read 6 issues in a row and you know how you're going to read them. And then that 7th issue, like they're telling you how to do things a little bit different. It like scratches a weird itch in your brain. And I don't think every book can or should do this, right? Because I think that it would be annoying if every book just had, here's how you read it with arrows and directions. You'd be like, Jesus Christ, whoever's doing this book, like I get it. I know how to follow things, right? But every once in a while, you know, somebody can get away with it. And I'm glad that it's Jesse because he does it really, really well. But if you can't get a copy of Panda Delivery Service, just go read Drome. I know your library has it. It's like such an incredible book, and if they don't have it, you should request it because it's fantastic. But let's move on. Let's talk about comic books that are on the top of our pile, whether they are new or old or just something you're trying to get off of your shelves. I want to shout out some folks hanging out with us here on Discord today and let you guys know what they're reading. Paul G is going to be reading The Graveyard Shift from DJ Woolridge and David Stoll. Avocado Kenobi is reading Justice League International Volume 3. Very interesting. There may be some more information about Justice League International later this year from IRCB. And Danny's going to be reading Godzilla versus America, Texas. Which the Godzilla versus America series is my favorite absurd thing that's happening. I think there was one that's like Godzilla versus America, Nebraska or something. I'm like, how did he get to Nebraska? I need to read this issue to find out. But Danny, let us know how Texas fares as you read that. Gabe, let's go back over to you. What is on the top of your pile this week? What are you reading next?
Yes, let me bring up my notes on this so I can give also in the little synopsis that I grabbed, and also apologies I did not grab the source of it. But yes, Absolute Wonder Woman Volume 1 from DC Comics.
Let's go, dude.
Yeah. And I've actually started reading the first couple of issues of this, so it's still on the top of my pile because I haven't finished it, but I just in the last couple of days started to get into it. But it reboots Diana in the dark Absolute universe, raised in the underworld, hell in parentheses, by her enemy Cersei rather than on Themyscira. This Diana is a battle-hardened warrior wielding dark magic and weapons forged in fire, determined to bring justice to a cruel world. So I read Absolute Superman and Absolute Batman on my own, the two trades, and I'm going to try to continue reading those. We read Absolute Martian Manhunter in my comic book club, and it was so good. It was one of the ones where I think it was, of the six of us, where it was the closest to us giving it like, all thumbs up, 95 to 100% up. Like one of the biggest consensuses that we've ever had in comic book club. And so I've been excited to read Wonder Woman, and
hell
yeah, it's the art looks so cool. It's dark, but at the same time, not in a kind of, and I know from starting to read it, it's not so much a horror as it is kind of a kaiju movie and kind of a thriller. So it's dark, but in a way that's not scary, but is also intriguing and thematically appropriate, but also not bleak. Not, it still has the heart and the hope and the optimism that a Wonder Woman comic should have, but not in a way that feels like it's a throwback to the 1980s where we're trying to shoehorn it in. It feels very modern. It feels like a fresh take, even though it is a familiar character trait of this character. And in the first couple of issues that I've read, where I think it is in the first issue where she's growing up, and there's the full spread 2-page splash panel, and it's the thin horizontal bars of her, like of Cersei's cave kind of evolving and her growing up and the background changing over time and the story being told in that way. I mean, the layouts and the art are just super duper fun. You gotta love when Wonder Woman is drawn with huge eyes. It's like, because they're the window to the soul, obviously. But the art is really exciting, and I'm just really, really excited to keep reading it. And Wonder Woman fighting monsters. What a great idea.
I know, it's like such a kick-ass way to start that series, and it also helps that Kelly Thompson as a writer is so unbelievably talented. Like, every book that I've read from her that she's touched from DC or Marvel or her indie books, it's just like golden, like from the start, right? Like, I read a large chunk of her Birds of Prey recently, for The Baby Was Here, and that was amazing. Like, her Black Cloak is one of my favorite books that Image publishes when the issues come out for that. And it's like, this book, she is absolutely killing it. She writes, like you said, Diana, as there's this inherent optimism to her, even though the world and everything around her that forged her was really dark, right? Like, all this dark evil magic or whatever, and evil magic in heavy quotes, they're like, she's living in hell, and she's got this Pegasus that is like just a skeleton, and so she's just like, no, but I'm here to help all the people. And you're like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, that's so cool.
As the kids say, I was not familiar with this writer's game. So this is somebody who I'll be looking up and continuing to read, because it is, and we were talking about pacing. It's like I haven't obviously read it all, and I don't quite have the wherewithal to describe it, but it does feel like there's these fast moments and these quick action scenes, and then it will switch back to the quieter moments, the them on the island, them having these personal conversations that feel really like they got room to breathe. And it's just like, both of them are intriguing to me. Like, it's not like, oh, here we go again with a flashback. It's like, it's not a moment of like, oh, let's get back to the action. It's like, okay, like this is a complete story. Everything feels necessary. Everything feels relevant. And everything's just paced really, really well in a way that kind of rises and falls and ebbs and flows. And it's really, really well done.
Yeah. I think like the close collaboration with Hayden Sherman to make those moments too. Like I have to wonder what like the email or phone calls are like back and forth with them, because like it's one thing to write really well, it's another thing to draw really well, but it is like finding that merge to make sure that you're getting the pacing right and all that stuff. That is so impressive. And obviously Sherman is doing a fantastic job. It's so funny. I've been reading books with his name on it for so long, and it's like him getting on these DC books. I've been like, oh, this is what he was meant to do. Like he can do these superhero books so well. But yeah, Brian, did you read this series? I don't know if where in the Absolute world you dove into things.
Yeah, I read the first volume of just about everything. I haven't read Absolute Flash yet.
Okay.
But, yeah, I think this was maybe my favorite of the Absolute books, just because of that like artistry of it. You're saying it's dark, but it's not like bleak, and I think that really like encapsulates it's dark in like a wine and chocolate kind of way, not like a black and white kind of way. Like,
it's a burgundy.
Yeah.
There's a richness to this, like both like the story and the tale being told, and in the art of just this like almost decadence.
And I don't know what DC's going to do when the ultimate or the Absolute line is supposed to end or whatever, because I know there's like a story reason why the Absolute universe exists, but I think that the Absolute universe has like saved them in a way that they never could have imagined. And not to say that DC is like falling behind, but I definitely feel like Marvel was on top for a really long time, and for the last 2+ years DC has been dominating, at least like in the social feeds that I'm in and just my own personal reading. Like I couldn't give a shit about any Marvel books right now. I know there's a couple really good series that are actually going on that I do want to dig into, but everything that I'm interested in right now that has me feeling like I'm excited to read month to month is DC, and that is insane, right? Like if Mike from 10 years ago showed up and was like, what are you reading to Mike today? I think he would slap me in the face, right? Like he would not believe that I'm so hardcore into this stuff. So yeah, I'm glad you dug into this, Gabe, because I think if you keep going, you're going to have such a good time. Like that series only gets better. Ooh. And this is like exciting. Martian Manhunter is so good, right?
It's so good.
But Wonder Woman is weirdly enough the better series. That is a crazy take, I think, but I think that Wonder Woman is the better series by far.
It seems like, Diana maybe speaks to, is a more accessible character in a way where
totally.
And
you're telling me you can't relate to a guy with a green monster in his head that's like
who's entirely his whole thing is that he's entirely closed off and and a stranger to his own wife. Crazy. But yeah, I mean, just the high concept sci-fi rigmarole of Martian Manhunter is such a fun ride, and the art in that is just amazing, and so but I think that that's a totally valid argument that it ends up being a better series just for the way it makes you feel.
Yeah,
I'm really hesitant to keep reading a lot of these Absolute books because I read volume 2 of Absolute Batman and I thought that was dog shit. So now I'm terrified of like, what if all of these suck after the first volume?
There was a feeling I had at the end of reading volume 1 of Absolute Batman where it's like, this could be a big fall. Like we are up on the cliff, everybody. Like,
as someone who's been reading month to month, I will 100% give that to you, Brian, because I think that the second volume slumps and the third volume fixes it. Because I think Scott Snyder needed to set up some dumb shit to basically make his third volume pay off really, really well. That's my take on it. Absolute Wonder Woman, on the other hand, continues to be a banger. I'll say that. I cannot speak to Flash because I dropped Flash. I cannot speak to Green Lantern because I couldn't get into it at all.
I think I'm going to drop Superman. I think that the volume 1 just didn't do it for me. And I think part of it was like we were talking about with the Wolverine book that you mentioned, like the rushing to get Lois Lane to be a reporter. And I was like, oh boy.
I'll give you that for sure. It would have been interesting to see Lois fight the system a little bit more before she made the decision. But I don't know. I think Jason Aaron really had a lot to say about AI, and he just needed to get it out there. Anyways, let me talk about a book that is on the top of my pile this week. I am looking forward to reading a book that I found hidden in a little cubby in my office that I bought probably a year ago, and I put it away with like 3 other books thinking, yeah, this is the perfect place for me to go find comic books. And I hadn't touched them for a year and completely forgot that they were there. So obviously I removed said books from there. But this is a book called Raised by Ghosts. This is by Brianna Lowenson. And it's a semi-autobiographical book about living in or going to middle school in the 90s. So I'm sure that it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be really nice and peaceful. But no, it's very it's very interesting. Because I think the thing that drew me to this book originally, like just looking at the cover, is Lowenson's art and the like simplicity of it, but like the perfect encapsulation of like the 90s era vibes, right? Like these browns and like just darker colors makes me think like, oh, this 100% takes place sometime between 1991 and 1994, which if I'm not mistaken, that's when this book takes place. And it seems to be just a series of like 1 or 2 page stories compared to like a regular graphic novel that would be like a continuous story. And I'm sure that these are told like chronologically, but it's very interesting to see that like it's just like little vignettes. It's not like full blown page after page after page from just the quick skimming that I did, with little letters kind of scattered through. So I'm really interested in seeing like how the art style here that Lowenson plays with, which is like very simple, but like also somehow a little bit dark. And I don't know, it's simple in such a way that it makes you think that the book could be really happy, but then you're like, this is a Fantagraphics book, so that means I'm going to get like really tricked into thinking that there's something nice going on here, and then it's going to devastate me.
It's going to be weird and off-putting.
That said, this is considered a YA book, right? This is considered like a young adult book. It won a bunch of awards. So I'm thinking that it's probably not going to be so dark that like I'm going to start crying at the end of it because it's so depressing. But it is about like middle school and divorced parents and failing school and trying to find your own self-worth when you're like in that age where like nothing makes sense and you're going through puberty and everything is awful and everything's great, you know. So curious to see how this is going to be. It seems again like it's a very much a day in the life type of story. We're just getting little motifs of her life, but yeah, I'm excited to check it out and glad that I found it, because I don't like, it was a Donald Duck book that I bought, like, because thanks Kara, and a copy of a book that I later bought or I bought earlier this year, so now I have 2 copies of, because I completely forgot that I bought these things. So long story short, don't hide your own comics from yourself, you know what I mean? I think we're learning that today, but anyways.
it's like a treat for future Mike.
Yeah, a treat. yeah but then I have 2 copies or 3 copies of stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter either way. I'm excited
a good
to read
excuse
this
for
book.
me to always have all of my shit all out on my desk in front of me, like, and tell my wife it's not a mess. It's so I remind myself not to buy it again or not to do it again, because
exactly
it's right in front of me.
I mean, I did intentionally put the pile of comics. So said cubby was a little like desk thing or a little side table that I have that has like a little opening that I just never go into. On top of that was originally like 9 other graphic novels that I had bought and said, I'm going to read them because they're sitting right here, right in front of me. I hadn't touched any of those since I bought them. Like, the problem that we have is that our to read piles are too damn long, right? So that's what I'm running this next campaign on, is the to read piles are too damn long. You can all vote for me in November. But anyways, Brian, please tell us what you're reading next so I can shut up for a second.
Yeah, I'm going to be reading a book called I Became a Boy for Revenge, I Promise.
This sounds like a light novel. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. If the title were like 7 or 8 words longer,
True.
It would be a perfect light novel title. This is written by Sarah Burgess. It is... The blurb on the back says, join the fall, rise, and fall again of protagonist Ashley in an empowering, cheeky, and unapologetic exploration of gender in the style of a 90s high school movie. Which, like, this book could not be more perfectly designed for me if it had been, like, assembled in a lab by scientists.
Okay.
'Cause it's described as, like, if Mean Girls was queer, and if Teenage Dirtbag was gay, and I'm like... I love all of these things. So a clueless trans mask villain and toxic Yuri. It's
Oh boy! All right, Brian.
It's perfect.
Did somebody write this for you? I'm very worried now that someone's stalking you and publishing books for just you.
Or were you sleep
if
writing
they
and
are.
sleepwalking and wrote it yourself, and then you wake up like, wow, what an incredible book that someone has made for me.
Yeah, it's like the what's the horror manga, the Fault, crawling into the hole. It was made for me.
This hole was made for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, if that is the case, I encourage them to stalk harder, because I could do with more like of this like boutique designed for me comics experience.
Yeah. Well, how did you come across this book?
Our mutual friend Amanda actually had it.
Oh, okay. Seems very much like Amanda's thing too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, loaned it to my wife, and after Kate was done reading it, we were going to bring it back, and I was like, actually, let me take a look at that. Oh, this is perfect for me. I'm keeping this forever.
Good. Well, I'll let Amanda know that's what's she has to come fight you for that. But it sounds like let us know how it is. I feel like this sounds like a really good book, like to read. Like sounds very fun. So let us know.
Yeah, I think it was originally published on the artist's like Instagram as like a panel by panel kind of thing. I saw that there is a playlist in the back of the book. I don't remember what was on it right now, but that is one more thing I love, is making playlists for all of my creative projects.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I'm always curious about how those like Instagram first comics get translated. So maybe in the post credits you'll have to show us this book so I can take a look at it and compare, see how that looks. But anyways, we need to talk about Gabe's Kickstarter. We need to talk about This Seems Normal. Issue number 2 is dropping with this brand new Kickstarter, but you can get 1 and 2 in the new Kickstarter. So Gabe, remind us, This Seems Normal. It's about some siblings and a big series of like crazy shenanigans that they get into, right? That's what it's about.
Yeah, pretty much. I haven't quite come up with the elevator pitch for the full series yet, so that's as eloquent as I could put it. But yeah, issue 1 was as I said, it's kind of an episodic approach to comics that I'm taking, because partially because I did a 4-part graphic novel that I came on the podcast years ago to promote called For Molly, and it was a lot to try to sell that as, you know, doing the issue on Kickstarter and then, you know, having a big cliffhanger, knowing that I was going to continue it, and then asking people to wait, asking people to follow me, and then while they're doing that with, you know, a dozen other books that they're reading on Kickstarter or whatever. So I, you know, spent a couple of years working on some short story one-shots to kind of, you know, go against that tide a little bit, and that, you know, taught me a lot, and I had some success with it. But now I'm dipping back into telling a continuous story, but in kind of an episodic way, in a way that is really like a Futurama homage, or, you know, or a kind of a callback to that kind of animated 30-minute sitcom where, you know, there is connective tissue between the things, but you wouldn't necessarily call it a serialized story. It is somewhat episodic. So issue 1 is about 2 capricious siblings, Sophie and Enzo, that create a robotic duplicate of their workaholic older brother Nino, and it spirals out of control. He finds out. It turns into a sibling rivalry that becomes a huge catastrophe, and becomes more than either of or any 3 of them bargained for. And then issue 2, which is what I'm doing the Kickstarter for right now. It is and I always knew this, that you know, issue 2, The Empire Strikes Back, you got to split the party. So Sophie discovers that she has superpowers, and she goes to her superhero brother Maddox to learn how to control them, so that he can teach her how to control them. Meanwhile, Enzo goes on a treasure hunt with the talking dog Calvin, who is Sophie's dog. And sorry, lots of names, lots of different things. They go on a treasure hunt, lots of adventure, a little bit of romance, pirate curses, and then it all comes back together.
So in issue 1, I think the thing that like really at first threw me, and then I found absolutely hilarious, was like the absurd, just like genre jumping from page to page.
Yeah.
I guess like as you were working on the first issue, and I'm guessing this kind of continues into the second issue. Like,
Yes.
how do you determine which direction you want to zig and then you want to zag to like tell the story that you're working on here? And like, how does your collaborator on this series feel about jumping between all of the genres as well?
Oh, well, I mean, I gotta start by saying that Elisa is just amazing, and I've worked with her on 8 or 9. I mean, there's been so many that I've lost count, and a lot of them were short story one shots. But like, she's amazing. Her style is expressive. It's ebullient and vibrant, and her facial expressions are so wonderful. It just tells the story of every character on every panel so well. It's a very European style. She's Italian artist in Italy, so it's a very European style. So it's think like Black Sad or things like that, but more bright and funny and positive than Black Sad, but that kind of but that kind of thing. So to answer your second question just quickly, she rolls with punches. She never pushes back on anything. Everything I throw at her, she is excited about. I know that her favorite thing is horror. So I haven't given her any of that quite yet. We did a short story horror a couple of years ago, but issue 3 will be a little bit more horror parody. But anyway, back to issue 2. She's incredible. Everything I throw at her, she just knocks out of the park, etc. But I mean, as far as the genre switching goes, I try to just let the story tell me where it goes, because I have the genres that I love. I have subgenres that I love, and I kind of keep a list in my head of what I'd love to do and what I'd love to see Elisa do. And I figure out, the best way to use those to tell the story. So in the example of issue 1, it's about a sibling rivalry. It's about the 2 younger siblings ganging up on the older sibling, and then the older sibling fighting back. And it becomes this thing that hopefully a lot of people with siblings are able to identify with when they read it. They're able to feel it, or even people that have tight friend groups or have really close cousins or et cetera, like that, like that ganging up, that epic feeling of like, this is the biggest thing going on in my life. It's so important right now. I will defeat you, my older brother. I will defeat you. And so that feeling is very much like Game of Thrones and Dungeons and Dragons and Lord of the Rings. And that's where that fantasy parody that is the middle section, the second act of issue 1 was inspired by. It really came from. And I just had this, something. I just had these flashes of creativity, and like things will come to me. And the panel of Nino saying like, where Enzo says to Nino, Enzo the younger brother says to Nino the older brother, "You're a bad brother," and Nino's response is, "I'll show you a bad brother. I'll show you who's a bad brother by killing you both." And then it becomes the Game of Thrones parody. And then in the Game of Thrones parody, there's no jokes until like really the last panel. It's all I try to play it entirely all serious, because I want the reader to have that experience of like, wait, like flipping the page and being like, what? Like, where are we? It's been months now. There's we're in a completely different universe. Enzo has a weird rivalry with a goblin general, and like, and Sophie is taken over, and Nino is riding a dragon, and he has some sort of like psychic connection with the dragon, and like, and then it's all played 100% serious until that last joke, which is again another kind of flash of like, I am your older brother. You will hang out with me, or you will die by my hand. So. Like I said, it comes from a place of like wanting it to be kind of grounded in a real heartfelt, genuine, emotional story, which is, when you were fighting with your siblings, when you're ganging up on each other, it feels like the biggest, most epic, most dramatic thing in the world. And when in the example of issue 2, where Sophie discovers that she has these superpowers, which is essentially, I stole the Black Canary's canary cry powers is what she has. Sure. And where, there's a million different ways to tell a superhero story, but the one I wanted to tell was like of a person that doesn't really like to be the center of attention, the person that doesn't want to feel like, oh, now I'm suddenly different and people are gawking at me. Or I feel like because it's a big power that she doesn't have control over, she's going to screw something up, and it's going to be in front of everybody, and it's going to be embarrassing, or it's going to be destructive, or she's going to hurt somebody that she cares about, which is what happens on page 2 of this, the start of the story. She discovers she has powers by blowing Enzo through the panel. It's so powerful. And so, what is that story, and how can that be told? And it becomes jumps into the world of the classic superhero story, and the kind of mentor protege or mentor student relationship, but in a younger sibling teaching an older sibling something. So anyway, it kind of, I'm rambling now, but it kind of spiraled from there. And then I just, and the genre of the pirate hunt, it was Enzo, who's just been blown through the panel. He doesn't know why Sophie's so mad at him, even though she said it exactly outright. And so everybody knows except him, he's really holding the idiot ball in this issue. Sure. Where something very obvious is not obvious to him. So he says oh, my number 2 love language is giving gifts. So I'm going to go on a treasure hunt and I'm going to find her this treasure. And that becomes the whole pirate part of it. And, I don't know, man, I'm having fun with it. And I'm trying not to color in the lines so much that I am, getting myself into this corner and just trying to have a fun genre blending comic.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's that's the thing that I found to be like I did exactly what you said, where I switched pages. Did I miss something? It's oh no, this is part of the bit, right? I mean, and of course, as soon as I saw a map, I was like, oh my God, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. To me, that really tickled me, because I was oh, we're going very serious, in a lot of ways. And so I just think that it's fun, in general, because it almost feels like more genre jumping in the end, with this robot taking over the world, right? The robot brother that they built. I mean, I just found it to be almost too bold, but then very enjoyable in the end, right? In a way, I think a worse comic, this would be super corny and not enjoyable, but you managed to ride that line of going crazy without it seeming too wild. And that's just me just paying you a million compliments. But
thank you.
I will say I think that's I don't know, I thought that was really, really fun. So I'm curious to know your intended audience for this book. This seems like I could give this to an 11-year-old kid and they would totally have fun with it. Was the goal to make a YA book, or are you still trying to keep things a little bit more mature? Where's this next issue going?
I really like to have essentially an all ages book. I don't have kids. I don't necessarily read YA books, so I don't really know what that would look like if that was the target that I was trying to hit. But at the same time, I don't want to have too much heavy stuff. I don't want to have I don't really want gratuitous stuff in there, whether it be violence or gore or sex or whatever.
Sure.
And so that wasn't oh, I'm intentionally holding myself back on that. But so I do want it to feel anybody could pick it up and read it. And it would be appealing to anybody that, at the baseline comic book readers, definitely people that maybe are also fans of genre and are familiar enough with things to know that when I'm making fun of something, that it comes from a real place of reverence and love and compassion and just wanting to be in those things so much, and wanting to kind of add my voice to that chorus.
That's one more sibling connection, You're mocking it because you love it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So I'm curious to know then, what's your family dynamic like? Are you pulling from anything real, or I mean, your siblings, cousins, friends? I mean, what's drawing this?
Yeah, I'm one of 6.
So you really know. Okay, yes. Never mind.
So the siblings in the comic are based on me and my siblings.
Cool.
The dynamic that was established in to bury the lead, to answer your question, there's little kernels of all of my siblings in each character, but then when I write it, they kind of grow into different things. So I wouldn't say that this character is exactly like X, Y, or Z. Sophie, who is the main character of the story, is based on my younger sister Izzy, who does the variant covers for all of my comics. And there are parts of it in there that are like, okay, this is Izzy. Like, this line is Izzy. This interaction is something that is part of my relationship with Izzy. But then it grows into Sophie being her own character. And because Sophie is the main character, especially she becomes the main character really in issue 2, she has a lot more of me kind of in her fabric, and then it grows and grows and grows until she's kind of more her own thing, and I'm just kind of feeding into it. And so that's really where it comes from. And so issue 1 was all about establishing the world, establishing the relationships, and establishing the in quotes the rules of it, where it is about jumping in between different genres very easily in kind of an Animaniac sort of way. And it is about like the core of it is about the relationship between the siblings and what it feels like to do something like I was talking about it. When you are having a rivalry, it feels like Game of Thrones, but actually, in reality, it wouldn't look like that. So it establishes the world, establishes the characters. And issue 2 is really where I start to explore the characters more and give Sophie more of an arc, and have her go on her own journey and adventure. And we saw in issue 1 what her relationship with Enzo is, how they're kind of like, equal parts kerosene and fire, just throwing fuel onto each other's fires. But what is her relationship like with Maddox, her younger brother, and especially in a moment where she's feeling very vulnerable and she needs him, and how do they learn from each other? How do they grow from each other? And what is their relationship like? And we see Enzo Enzo has kind of a longer arc in the scripts that I've written and in the issues that I have written, where in this particular one, we see him being the wild card that he was in issue 1. And we see him, but we see him being a very genuine person, and we see his compassion, and we see his kind of being like the Fry character in Futurama, where he's just fumbling into things, but he's doing it with his whole heart, and he's really an idiot. Like, he's really doing these idiotic things. I'm saying this because Enzo is based on me. I'm excited to explore these characters and to continue to give them the opportunity to grow. And I'm really, really excited, for the growth that's and the fun that comes from it, and the jokes that come from it, and all the different visuals and genre switches like we've been talking about that come from it in issue 2.
So I guess, for folks that are interested in the Kickstarter, what can they expect? I think that's a question I always want to ask folks, because as a big Kickstarter backer, I'm always like, give me my little minutia details and rewards and stuff like that. So for folks that are interested, what can they look forward to?
First and foremost, there's a great variant cover, like I was talking about. My sister Izzy did it. She's a great artist. Doesn't really work in the world of comics except for what I ask her to do. She's got her own kind of art thing going on.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but it's a Into the Spider-Verse parody variant cover, because the new character, as I've been talking about, is a superhero. So I put him in the Miles Morales kind of jumping over Brooklyn and Manhattan, the iconic Into the Spider-Verse poster. So very excited about that. We just locked art on that a couple days ago. And there's obviously the books. There's my other one-shots that can be, you can get digitally or you can get in print. I did 4 comedic one-shots that I kind of included in that bundle that are a couple different stories that I absolutely love, and I've gotten some good responses on, so I'm sure that readers would enjoy those as well. And then I've got some other cool things. I've got a sticker for Enzo that's a parody of the This Is Fine dog, where he's sitting in a fire holding a coffee mug, and it says, "This seems normal." I got I love American traditional tattoo art. That's I'm working on the half sleeve or the full sleeve.
Yeah. Folks, if you're not watching this video on Patreon, you're missing some cool tattoos.
Yeah. So I got a tattoo artist to do Rosie the Riveter, but Sophie the Riveter as a magnet, and yeah, just cool prints. Oh, metal print, which is very, very cool. It's actually the one on my wall is a metal print, and it just comes out really cool and vibrant. So that's another thing. Or we're talking about how great Elisa was. She is incredible. So there's custom portraits that can be done with Elisa on the top tier of the Kickstarter. It's something that if you want to have art of yourself holding like a pop culture item, she will draw it, and we'll send it over to you in a print and digital.
Nice. Very cool. Well, folks, you should check that out in the show notes. We'll have a link to that. If you haven't read Gabe's other work, pretty good stuff. I've read, I think, almost all of it. If maybe I'm missing one or two things. Either way, Gabe does some fantastic work for it. So I think that's where we're going to wrap things up here. Gabe, if people want to find you on the internet, where can they find you?
First and foremost, Kickstarter.com. This Seems Normal number 1 and 2. The Adventure Begins continues. And then at Gabe Cheng Comics on Instagram, GABECHENG Comics, and GabeChengComics.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining me today. Thank you, Kara, for proof listening today. Thank you, Brian and Gabe, for hanging out. Thank you, everyone listening live on Discord. You're fantastic human beings. Thank you to Zander for editing. And until next time, comics are good, and so are you.